Hi, my name is Dave. I'm the webmaster of TalkingPsalms.org, and I'd like to share a message with you today entitled Hypocritical Liars All. The news media is filled with stories of illegal immigrant children being separated from their parents when crossing our borders. Well, here's a fact that's not being told. While we live in the physical plane, there is also a spiritual plane that moves the physical. Thus, we should not be surprised when the Bible tells us, as found in Romans chapter 1, verse 18, quote, "The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness," end quote. Today, living in a promiscuous world where sex, money, and power have replaced the good news of Jesus, we all suffer. The Bible identifies that as idolatry, replacing the true living God with something invented by man, which is the definition of religion. People who believe in the death, resurrection, and eternal life of Jesus are not religious. They worship the true God, and who created all things, and by him all things were made. How far we have fallen from what the founding fathers of this nation intended. In 1973, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that abortion was legal, thus unleashing the cold-blooded murder of 55 million children in America. God does not approve of murder. All through the Bible, God specifically punishes murder. People often mistake the command, "Thou shalt not kill," to mean any killing at all. But God does allow the righteous killing to protect his people. God is like a loving parent who will forcibly remove any dangerous threat to his children, and this goes for real Christians too. Here we are now 45 years later, and there are earthquakes everywhere. Disease, corruption, lying, and deceit are rampant and promoted in the media, and we wonder why there is so much death and destruction. It's obvious that God is allowing Satan to have power so that God's mercy might be revealed. In fact, in Romans chapter 9, verses 20 through 24, quote, we find, quote, "What if God, choosing to show his wrath and make his power known, bore with great patience the objects of his wrath, prepared for destruction? What if he did this to make his riches of glory known to the objects of his mercy, whom he prepared in advance for his glory?" Because there are so many murders of unborn children, there is a huge shortage of labor in this country. Think what our world would be like if 55 million more people worked, raised families, bought houses, started businesses, contributed to Social Security and the general rise in income that would produce more taxes. Our politicians would not have to beg for more money because the economy would be far greater than today's. Our economic system is constantly growing and expanding as wealth increases. Imagine how much difference 55 million plus their children would have made. Instead, so people could have engaged in sexual immorality, abortion was allowed, and 55 million children have been murdered in their mother's womb. Meanwhile, in Central America, through corruption and drugs, which are produced to sell to the drug-addicted Americans, the people try to escape to the United States for economic stability and freedom. At the same time, a hostile, greedy, anti-immigrant sentiment has swept our nation, even though the Bible tells us to welcome the alien and treat them as one of us. Today there is a vicious, hypocritical lie being promulgated in the media about children, quote, ripped from their mother's arms and put in concentration camps, end quote, which is a completely fabricated lie by the people of the Antichrist who are trying to take control. Flash. These people were trying to illegally cross into the United States. Compare that with what happens in Muslim countries, or North Korea, or any country if you try to illegally cross their borders. When a criminal commits a crime with children present, those children are taken into protective custody, fed, housed, clothed, and given medical treatment, just as the children of illegal immigrants are today. I believe that anyone coming to America should be admitted, processed, and given papers to allow them to work here and eventually become citizens if they pass the test. We must as a nation face the fact that murdering 55 million babies has serious economic and moral consequences. I believe that until our nation repents of these murders, defunds Planned Parenthood, and makes abortion illegal, we will continue to suffer the wrath of God. Things seem quite economically rosy at the moment, but that could all change in a moment. Hebrews 10, chapter 10, verse 31, quote, it tells us, "It is a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God," end quote. Well, it's time to return to God through Jesus the Christ. It's time to abandon our culture of perversion and lust. Remember, those who live for the crotch will die by the crotch, as we see happening today. Won't you come to Jesus, ask forgiveness, and turn your life over to Him? If you do, you will only have peace and security. I hope this message has helped and comforted you and strengthened you and encouraged you today. God bless you, and thank you for coming to TalkingPsalms.org. Bye-bye.